Have you ever wished someone would cut your hair as you were falling asleep? Have you ever put barbecue sauce on an ice cream sundae? Or have you ever driven a golf cart onto a busy highway? Well, if you have, then you, my friend, might be out of touch. Welcome in to another episode of Out of Touch. I'm your host with the most, some would say the least, and that's probably more accurate, John Alden. Alongside with me, Dustin Schutte and Mitchell Page, as always. We have tried to record this episode on 3 different days over the past week or so, and due to me being the inconvenience, we haven't done it. So therefore, those of you who are watching and or listening to this, you're going to be listening to it more than likely the day after we recorded it, if you listened to it on the day it was released. So welcome in to Out of Touch, one of the most, I guess, time accurate episodes of Out of Touch so far. But yeah, definitely it was
time accurate.
A whirlwind of a week. I got sick on Tuesday, and I'm not the kind of person who gets sick. So on Tuesday, I woke up at 1 a.m. with some diarrhea. We'll just go ahead and throw it out there. We had the runs going on Tuesday morning, 1 a.m.
We're just diving right in.
We are diving right in.
I hope nobody.
Yeah, I mean, I was good with you being. Yeah, I was good with you being sick. I got the gist.
No. We got to give everybody the details. And you know what?
I don't think we do.
But there's nothing else as graphic as that. There's nothing else that is as graphic.
No, that's pretty graphic.
That's just the beginning.
It's like saying he slit his throat. That's as graphic as it gets. But
so anyway,
yeah, I mean,
woke up a couple of hours later, and I have legitimately one of the most weird fever dreams I've ever had, at least in my adult life. And I wake up and I'm shaking all over the place. And at first I thought I just woke up, I was just cold or whatever, but I legitimately could not stop shaking. And then the morning comes, work comes, at least, the morning stuff that I do. And all my body's aching. And it's one of those things where, because I'm the kind of person who doesn't at least get that kind of sick, I knew I was down for the count. And that was the day we were supposed to record on Tuesday last week. And so we ended up pushing it to Friday. I ended up having a very sore throat beginning on Wednesday. I ended up medicating enough on Tuesday to where I pushed myself to go to this concert that I bought tickets for at the last minute because it was the day before my birthday in Cincinnati. I had a great time, but was completely worn out by the time the thing was all said and done. And I think it kind of ruined me for the rest of the week. So Friday comes, we don't record again. And here we are, Tuesday, August 29th. This episode will release on August 30th. And I'm here with my boys, Dustin Schutte and Mitchell Page, the 2 most patient men in the universe, at least in the podcast universe. And I'm very thankful for that.
I was going to say, when it comes to patience, I have very little of it. But I do have patience for you guys. So
isn't that funny how that works?
Right?
And this is what I was thinking about. What a different world we live in. Because I know that there are people listening right now that are like, oh, John's a super spreader of COVID.
I tested negative for COVID. I tested negative for COVID. I made sure I did that on, I guess it was Tuesday evening. I made sure I didn't have COVID. I did not. I don't know what I had. I didn't go to the doctor. I just know I took a COVID test.
I give you credit for even taking one. I know those 24-hour flus hit you right in the face, and it's gotten way worse as I've gotten older. One thing I've also learned, so I'm in the aesthetics industry. Girls will definitely know what I'm about to say. Guys are 1 million times softer than girls.
Yep.
1,000%.
We get a little sick. That's it. Those 24-hour flus, I'm good. Yeah, I'm on the couch. They don't even come in here. Just let me be. Yeah, I get it. I know exactly what you're going through. I know what you were feeling. It's one of the worst things that can happen to a guy. And how lucky are we that that's one of the worst things that can happen to a guy?
I completely agree. I was going to ask, though, okay, so you said you had a fever. I want to know, which I don't think this is like a legitimate thing that you're supposed to do. And I don't even know if it's a real medical thing. But when I get a fever, Do you just sweat it out? I just sweat it out. Like I don't.
I gotta mention something really stupid that I did. Now that you mention that, so based on what you just said, sweating on a fever, I'd heard that saying before, so I'm like, I'm gonna get in a really, really hot bath. I thought I could make myself super hot and start sweating and cause myself to break the fever. Well, that's not how that works. Apparently, if I really, I guess I was in there for quite a while. I don't know at what level would have been dangerous, but apparently I could have had a seizure if I had done this.
How hot was this water?
No kidding.
I mean, I don't know the temperature. Someone in my family, whenever I told them how stupid I was, and I didn't realize how stupid I was until they told me. But they're the ones who told me that I could have had a seizure. So,
because
that's not how you sweat out the fever.
What I do is I put on I layer up sweatshirts, hoodies, sweatpants, socks, bunch of blankets, pillows, and I lounge on the couch and I get Gatorade, water, Sprite, just a bunch of liquids. And I just have a day of it. Put on Harry Potter or something and sweat it out. I guess if I have Tylenol, I use that. But generally, I just drink as much as I can, get as hot as I can, and try to feel better the next day.
Yeah, this is going to make me seem like I'm a toddler. But I know whether you guys are man enough to admit that you do this as well, time will tell. But this is making me think about probably 2 weeks into me getting into Austria a couple years ago. This happened. I woke up and was just a cold sweat, feeling terrible. Couldn't go. I don't speak German. And if you go to the grocery store, that's a little easier than going to the pharmacy. I don't know the rules for over-the-counter drugs. So I'm just fighting this off myself. And this is so funny to say, and my mom listens to this, so she'll appreciate this because I've definitely told her this. I've never wanted my mom more in my life. I was a 28-year-old guy by myself in this little apartment in Vienna, Austria, just frozen, too scared to go to the pharmacy because I was nervous. I couldn't speak German. That's just, I haven't thought about that in a long time. She'll appreciate that story. And I'm sure I'll get a call tomorrow when you listen to this. So hello, Mom. And what a good time that was.
And I've never been overseas, so I can't really relate to the fear of not being near family like that, because I'm sure that's where a lot of that's rooted in.
Yeah, man. You're just thousands of miles away. Even I get some of it now. My mom comes often, and I love when she comes. It just makes you feel like I'm 30. I'm supposed to be a grown up, but just in case, she's going to help.
Well, and I was going to say, so this isn't just overseas. I've been overseas too, but it was only for a couple weeks. So I didn't really have that sort of issue. But when I lived in Kennesaw, I didn't have half my family lives up here in Indiana where I am now. The other half lives in Florida. So it was just me. I didn't have a lot of friends or anything. Which, by the way, Kennesaw is still today my favorite place I've ever lived, but it is so freaking hard when you are 6-7 hours away from the closest person, especially when you get sick and you're just just somebody come save me. And you're just lonely there on the couch. Damn it. I got to go to the grocery store myself. I got to do all this stuff. I don't have anybody to complain to. It's the worst.
That's just come full circle. Just the sky's just so soft.
We are the softest.
Oh my gosh. I really just want someone to complain to. That's it. I want you to just listen to me say how terrible I feel and let me be just a terrible bump on a log. That's all I want.
No, I'm gonna keep adding on to this. See, now this is what's funny. Everybody who's listening, John said, I know exactly what we're gonna talk about in our little pre-show meeting. And we're already way off base. Now
this is not even in his notes, 100%.
The story. I knew that I was going to tell the story of me being sick. I just didn't know how far we were going to take it.
Mitchell said he was going to stay on the rails. We're off the rails already. We're 10 minutes in. So
I already said I wanted my mom.
I am with you on the. I just want to complain and have somebody you don't even have to say anything. I just complain. Okay, so here's my question to you guys: is there something? You guys are both married. Okay, so is there something when you've been in a relationship, married, is there something your significant other does when you are sick? So for me, like this is so dumb. Scratching my head,
yes.
which I have
come on. It's the best.
It's
the best.
When you're sick and somebody scratching your head, oh my God. It's like chicken noodle soup. It's the best.
Yes.
It's even better now that I have no hair.
Oh, really? So maybe I should shave my head off.
It's like a straight scalp massage, right? So I have one of those. Have you seen
I was just about to ask the little wires. Yes.
Oh man.
Hey, I don't have anybody that lives with me, so I gotta do it myself if I get sick, right?
Hey, that's right.
I can just picture you with 4 sweatshirts, a big blanket, just scratching your head with that thing.
Biscuit asking for attention.
Yeah, it just sits. Yeah, no, he cuddles up at my feet, so he's good. He adds to the warmth.
Good.
This should just be called the beta. This should be called the beta male podcast because we're all just essentially talking about how ridiculous and
I'm the biggest beta. I love people, and I don't condone fighting. I'm not a fighter, but like I think all these guys, like especially being a football player, like you're supposed to be a tough guy, whatever. And my entire life, we talk about fight or flight. There is no fight. Straight flight. Anytime there's any kind of disagreement, beta. I'm out of there. Run away. Use your strengths. You're never going to catch me. Run away.
I think I'm the same way. I'm like half and half. If it's just me, I'm out of there. Like I'm not sticking around to get my ass kicked.
See, now this is interesting.
But if it's somebody else that I'm with, not that they started it, but if there's a confrontation or something like that, and I'm with somebody, I will stand up for that person. If a friend or somebody starts it, then I might be like, hey, you know what? Maybe we should go. But if there's like some sort of actual situation that somebody else started, then I'm going to jump in and I got your back. But if it's just me, I'm out of there.
I guess I should retool what I was going to say. So I grew up, I've been waiting on a growth spurt my entire life. So I've been the little guy, and you've heard of little man syndrome. I don't drive a truck, but I always had a big chip on my shoulder because I was way smaller than anybody. But I think the biggest problem, like my mouth, I talk trash. If I know I'm good at something, I'm going to let you know it.
Yeah.
Particularly in basketball. Football is a little harder because they could just destroy me. And high school, some, but basketball especially. And I always had somebody that was big to protect me. For most of my young life before I got to college, really. Do you guys remember the name Sean Heffer? And he played at Indiana.
I remember the name.
Man. Yep. We played basketball together since we were kindergarten, and he was always the big kid, and I was always the small kid. And he, similar to me, did not take really any crap. So I would start the crap, and he would come and finish it for me. And that's how I operated basically until I got to college. And I was always the instigator, but then would just let somebody else fight my fights. So I think that makes me even more of a beta now that I think about it.
We all have our things. I've mentioned, well, we'll get into that some other time. Things that make us feel emasculated. I've done different shows where people send in stuff where they say what aspect about them makes them feel like less of a man, but it's something that's kind of like a stereotype kind of thing. So one thing, and that reminds me too, and I don't know when we're going to get to doing this, but I was thinking about it this afternoon. I think my goal set in my head is by this time next month, depending on how complicated it is. And I don't think it'll be that difficult. I want to be able to set up a voicemail box where people who listen to this show can send in questions and or comments on what either we are talking about or what they want us to talk about, because we also have a couple of shows planned down the line. For example, we talked about the ghost stories a few weeks ago. We want people to be able to call in and share personal ghost stories that they may have experienced. We'll do that obviously around Halloween time, but we'll come up with a bunch of other different things as well. But we want to be able to interact with the people who listen to the show. And again, thank you to all those who have been listening so far. We've only put out 4 episodes, and we consistently have a decent 40 to 50 people when you include Spotify and YouTube numbers all together. And so thank you to those who are watching. I know
typically it would just be me just restarting it.
That's one thing I worry about. I wonder if people...
I think there's actually some people, which is amazing.
Yeah, exactly. And I know we've got friends and family, but you know what? If you all keep coming back, whoever those people may be, especially those who don't know us, we're grateful, and we hope you keep coming back. So also, one other little announcement. Beginning next week, the Hoosier Illustrated is going to be kind of co-sponsoring this podcast. We're going to be kind of partnering with them. Every week, we are going to be doing 15-ish minute breakdowns of, and more so reaction than a breakdown, I would say, of the previous Indiana football game from the week before, which obviously they're playing Ohio State this week. And so we're going to have an interesting time next week talking about what may or may not go down in that game. But you'll be able to find that stuff on HoosierIllustrated.com. And they're going to, in turn, also put this podcast on their site. So we're very grateful to Alec and Kyler at Hoosier Illustrated for partnering with us. And hopefully we have some positive things to talk about with Indiana football, but it's going to be tough considering what they have going on in week 1.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to spend a lot of time on Indiana. I really like the structure that we have. And if you want to listen to us complain, do what guys do and complain, you can go over to the Hoosier Illustrated. But I do want to say, every year about this time, there's just I just convince myself, I think all sports fans do this. You just convince yourself that you're not going to be let down again. Like, it can't happen again. And I haven't got there yet. What day is it? Tuesday? I would say I'm going to send you guys a text about midday on Thursday telling you why Indiana's going to be undefeated. I can feel it coming. It's something that happens every year with Indiana and the University of Miami. Those are my 2 squads that I follow. And I'm just going to convince myself that I'll never be sad again. And I'm looking forward to being sad. That's it.
So I think, though, to that point, I think that's the fun of being a sports fan, right? Like,
what else are you even doing? I can't imagine cheering for Alabama. That's so boring. So boring.
I think so too. I think it's more, and when they win games, don't you feel like it has to be more relieving than exciting? Like, thank God we didn't lose.
Like when Ohio State,
100%.
and again, we won't spend too much time on football, like we said, but Ohio State, when every year the whole season comes down to what happens in the Michigan game, and then if they lose, they want to fire Ryan Day. Like, that's just sounds so miserable.
Oh my gosh.
But here's the thing. So I understand optimistic fans who are who are Mitchell. 12-0, 15, we're winning the national championship. I understand that. You support your team, you ride or die. Awesome. I understand the realistic fan. That's like, you know what? I'm going to be happy if we get to 6 wins, if we get to 8 wins, if we get to 5 wins, I'll be happy. I understand that. What I never understood is like the fan that's just like, we're going to suck this year. It's going to be terrible. I'm like, there are a lot of things you can do on a Saturday. There's a lot of really fun events. There's a lot of really cool things that happen on the weekends. If you are that pessimistic and I understand going into a game and being like, we're probably not going to win, but I'm going to have fun. But people who are just like constantly negative, I'm like, why are you even watching?
I think that it's the whole ride. I would say the entire offseason, I've lived in the third party. Pessimistic. We're the worst team ever created. We're never going to win again. Blah, 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 blah. We can't even name a punter. Don't get me started. But it's just like you go through all of the stages of, I would say right now we might win 5 or 6 games. And then as the ball's kicked, we're never going to lose again. But you think about like somebody that's an Alabama fan, and maybe I don't know what it's like. I've never cheered for a team that wins at that rate where I could really understand what was happening. Like, my dad grew up in Miami, so I grew up a Miami Hurricanes fan. I was 8 when the greatest team ever assembled beat Nebraska by a zillion in the Orange Bowl for the national championship. Like, I watched that team, and I kind of understood what it was like to win every game. And as a 10-year-old, that was sick. But I don't know that it matches when Indiana beat Penn State. Like, the elation that you get, because it's so unlikely and so unrealistic to expect it. And for 4 quarters, you get to just build up this excitement. And I'll never forget. That was one of the most fun times I've ever had in my life. I jumped into the ocean. I went sprinting out of a restaurant and jumped into an ocean in St. John,
I love
fully
that.
clothed.
Oh my goodness.
There's awesome. A video somewhere. I'm sure my wife has it. I'm a menace. We're in St. John. No one is watching college football anyways. And if they are, they're watching Ohio State or Clemson or Alabama or Georgia. And I make them put on this Indiana game for all 4 quarters. Somehow they get it. I watch it like my life depends on it. Turns out to be this phenomenal game. By the end of it, no one in there has any rooting interest in the game, but they see how excited it makes me. So then we're all watching this game together. And when they call it a touchdown, I go sprint. It was like half a mile to this water. I'm just sprinting down basically a busy street. People are cheering for me as I'm running. I just don't think you get the pure elation when you cheer for a team that wins all the time. That just can't be that fun. I bet it would be, and this is me just coping. This is 100% me being jealous and coping with the fact that I don't get to cheer for that. But it's an unmatched feeling every year, just hoping for one moment like that, as opposed to hoping that it's not the opposite. Like, that was probably the darkest day in Penn State history.
So, and I think too, when I went to that point a little bit, when I went to the Big Ten championship game, and people know that I root for Purdue. I grew up close to West Lafayette. My dad worked in Lafayette. We had a bunch of season tickets to basketball and football. But I went into that Michigan game not really expecting to win, but I was like, I just want some moments in that game where I am out of my seat cheering because we scored a big touchdown, we took a lead, whatever the case might be. And that's what sports are all about. It's about those moments. Like, yeah, it's awesome to win, but those type of moments that you're talking about, those are so much fun. That's why we
What else are we going to get up for, Dustin?
Exactly.
What else is there?
I don't know. Nothing else brings you that same sort of energy and
there's
juice.
Just I know there's I would say majority of people don't follow sports, and I just don't know how.
You think
majority people, I don't know. That's a good, maybe college sports for sure.
I feel
like a lot of people follow professional, at least the NFL.
I
would say it's 50-50 out of best.
All the people. So I don't completely disagree
There's
with that.
350 million people in America.
That's tough.
I know. But, okay, I would say a majority of people follow at least one sport. I don't think everybody.
That's true.
I don't think everybody.
Way.
You don't think so? I think so.
At least one rooting interest. Even my wife, who really, she grew up not really being a big follower of sports, but in the past 2 to 3 years, she's really jumped onto the Buffalo Bills bandwagon. I know there's a lot of factors that go into it. So I have family up in Buffalo. We went and visited them, and we watched a game at one of their fan bars or something like that, and she got super into it. And so from there on out, she's been a Bills fan. And so she's like super excited about the season coming up. Got super heartbroken when Damar Hamlin got injured last year. And so I do think there's usually, and maybe it's not for an entire life for somebody, but maybe it's a phase in which someone roots for a certain team at a certain point in their life. I think everybody at least goes through that. Yeah. I would think.
Maybe. It's so silly. It makes no difference in your true day-to-day life.
Right.
Yep.
But it means everything. It means everything to you. I'm so excited. I really didn't like watching Notre Dame be as good as they are. I'm not a fan of the Fighting Irish, and they're going to be a big problem, which I don't love.
And we were going to get into your game day routine this week, but we are going to postpone that now because you're going to be moving to Charlotte, and it won't be normal like it would normally be, or it won't be the way it would have been had you not to move this coming week.
I'm doing the team a total disservice. I'm not going to be at my best. So, if they called on me and needed me, I would not be prepared. And that's totally my fault. Very, very unprofessional of me. I can guarantee the listeners every game for the rest of the season, you will never see a team fight as hard as I'm going to fight for the rest of this season. You will never see a team prepare as hard as I'm going to prepare for the rest of this season.
I'm excited to hear
God
this.
bless.
Every week, the anticipation builds for learning about this.
I love the God bless at the end. God bless.
Do you know what that's from?
I don't.
I mean, either.
Boys, come on. You work in media? Tim Tebow? Oh, my God.
Here's the thing, and I guess this isn't really the same thing, but anytime
what are we?
a friend of ours that we work with makes a movie reference, it seems like neither one of us ever understand it.
This is not a movie reference. This is sports. This is you guys. This is what you do. This is one of the most famous moments in sport. You need to look that up. You need to pull it up and look it up right now.
God bless.
They just lost to Ole Miss or something, and Tebow. It was the second game of the season, third game of the season, so they're not out of it. And Tebow gets into the press conference, basically takes no questions, goes on this. You will never see a team prepare as hard as we will prepare for the rest of the season, does like 10 of these, and then says, God bless, slaps the table, and then they win the national championship. And this is the team they just came out with that documentary about.
I remember that part. I remember all of what you said. I don't remember the God bless part.
He says that at the end.
Okay.
I'm about to have – here we go. I'm going to play the last few seconds of it. It's just the audio, but here it is.
You never see a team play harder than we will the rest of this season. God bless.
Come on, man.
I wish he would have slapped the table.
I
wish he would have slapped it. I was anticipating a table slap.
I was anticipating a Tom Allen-esque
like a little
slap.
Leo.
Well, that would mess up the audio. That would really scare somebody that's listening in the car or something. You can swerve off. I always think about that. Like I try not to be too demonstrative because if someone's listening on Spotify or something, I've listened to podcasts before where somebody makes a loud, abrupt noise. And you know how you're listening to a podcast when you're driving, you're just kind of thinking about something else and it jolts you awake. And I worry about somebody just turning their car wheel. And yeah.
My apologies if my LEO made someone wreck their car. Hopefully that's not the case. But
we saw somebody that was upside down the other day.
Oh, did you?
I don't know. How do you get, and I'm sure there's people that, and I just have never been in the situation, but when you're driving on a 2-lane highway that's been a highway for 100 miles and it doesn't really turn, how do you get upside down?
I don't know.
I mean, my first guess would be they're inebriated, but I don't want to make an assumption of somebody drinking and driving. But
you could fall asleep.
It was like 11 a.m.
That's true.
Oh, maybe that. It was in the middle of the day, but could still happen.
You don't know how long somebody's been driving.
Right. Yeah. It happened like right in front of us. We didn't see them flip over, but we saw like the immediate aftermath. And she was really banged up. She didn't look like she was had been drinking or anything. It just that's a really good answer. She fall asleep and then jolt the wheel and the wheels catch and twist. That can make sense. It's more of a question.
Here's something we can all be excited about. Sister Jean just turned 104 years old.
How about that? That's awesome.
Did you see her first pitch?
No, I knew she did one, but is it horrendous?
I didn't see it either. I just know I saw her wheeling out there and I didn't want to see it.
Dustin, you're a baseball guy. Did you see Sister Jean throw a – surely they gave her like a – kind of like an oxygen tank version of a baseball thrower. You just kind of hit a button and it shoots it or something.
That would be incredible. Like a CO2
powered pitcher.
Did you guys ever watch Big Bang Theory?
I've seen a few episodes here and there.
Oh man. Well, okay. So one of the guys gets asked to throw out the first pitch at a Los Angeles Angels game, but he's obviously not very good at sports. So he creates like this robot that delivers the ball from home plate or from the pitcher's mound to home plate.
See, I love it.
So that's the image I have in my head of this Sister Jean. But a CO2, like you press a button and it just goes at 100 miles an hour.
That'd be incredible.
Takes out the catcher. It'd be amazing.
I'm taking a look at this right now.
Firing baseballs.
I'm not going to show it because
I would have
of
needed that. Did you know
copyright.
I threw a first pitch out at an Indians game?
Did you
know
really?
that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, I did.
Right down the middle?
Right down the middle. I was pretty proud of it. They asked, so there was 3 of us. We went to an Indians game. It was me, Divine Redding, and Jacob Robinson. And we were supposed to do all this stuff. And I played the senior card hard. They asked Jacob to throw it, but I'm like, dude, come on, give me that baseball. And I definitely just hijacked it. I still feel bad about that. So I would have to tell Jacob, sorry, I haven't thought about that in forever, but I really wanted to throw that first pitch.
All right, moving
All
forward.
right, you want an old lady.
All right, speaking of old people, are y'all familiar with the voice of Mario, Charles Martinet?
R.I.P., man.
He's not dead.
R.I.P. He's not doing Mario anymore.
R.I.P. to him being the voice of Mario. That's correct.
Yeah.
He's retiring from being that character. Dustin, I bet you don't look like the kind of guy who's a big Mario fan. Did you ever play any Mario games growing up?
Oh, yeah, I played a lot of Mario.
I bet Mitchell did.
I'm a big gamer. I want to know how busy was the Mario man? You know, like how I don't picture him going into work every day where he's like, man, this is too much. I got to retire. I'm done.
But he probably did other things, right? He wasn't just Mario.
He was the Mario man. That's it.
He did do some other things in voice acting. I'm not too familiar with other roles that he's done, but he wasn't just the voice of Mario.
But they aren't like making new Mario TV shows. Right?
So what was he doing?
No, he was never in.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
I don't even think he's in the movie that came out this past spring. I think he might have made a cameo.
One video game every 5 years. That's probably not too taxing. Like, I don't think you need to retire. That's what I'm saying. It's not like he's been working in the mines.
Could you?
So he's done a few. So apparently he's done some voicing over the past few years, but he's not done hardly anything other than voicing just Mario.
You want to talk about hogging the spotlight?
This
My
man
guy just wanted to be in the news.
He's going to turn 68 years old next month, and he's going to ride off into the sunset. He's at a retirement age, though. I mean, who wants to be 68 and doing anything still?
He's at a retirement age for most jobs where you have to go in every day. But Mr. Mario is not working that hard.
Can you imagine that? Well, let's just say Charles Martinet, and I'll let Dustin chime in here in a second. Imagine he decided not to retire, and he gets up to be, I don't know, 91 years old. Or let's say he's 104, like Sister Jean, and he's still voicing Mario. What the hell is that going to sound like?
That is a good question. But okay. I think if you retire, he's got to still be getting residual checks, right? For certain like videos, movies, video games, all that stuff.
He's always going to get paid for any time.
Right.
And he also thinks probably going to happen. I'm sure they have plenty of archives of his voice that are likely going to be used in future, installments and stuff like that. And so even though he's no longer going to be recording stuff, you probably haven't heard the last of him as Mario, if that makes sense.
When was the last time Mario said something new?
I was just thinking that, Dustin. I'm like, hold up. We have another. He says it's a me, a Mario, and whoop, whenever he jumps. That's it.
Exactly.
That's the whole Mario character.
It's not like it's not like he's got an extensive vocabulary. He's know like 12 words.
By the way, I want to show
his job
a
35
photo.
years ago.
Are you familiar with what this guy looks like? Are you guys familiar with what Charles Martinet looks like?
I'm not. Does he look like Mario?
This is a fairly recent photo of him, I believe.
Oh, he doesn't look at all like Mario.
No, I would have. You could see this guy in real life, and you would not have a clue that he is the voice of one Super Mario.
Be one of the best reasons to go into voice acting ever. You could be famous, but nobody knows who you are.
It's great. I mean, it's the introverted man's dream or woman.
I'm sure like it would be. I'm sure like super fans would recognize you, but I would have no idea who that man is.
Unless he started talking, of course.
Right. Well, yeah.
In the voice. I'm sure he
obviously.
doesn't talk like that in real life. I want to clarify
All right.
that.
I'm interjecting.
Go ahead.
When you type in Super Mario lyrics, people ask, what is Mario's favorite line or famous line? He's got 4 of them.
Hey, can you give us to this in your best Mario impersonation?
I'm gonna, yeah. I just have to not laugh. Let's go! And Mamma Mia, which is hilarious. I have a funny story about Mamma Mia. My mom's gonna like this too. One time I was in Italy. My grandma went with us, and we went on a gondola, and she stepped on the side of it wrong and almost tipped the thing over. And the gondolier said, Mamma Mia! And it was the funniest thing that this 12-year-old brain had ever heard. Okie dokie, and here we go. Those are the famous Mario phrases. Mamma Mia being number 1. That's his catchphrase. That's it.
That is?
That's all he's ever said. That's amazing. Why did he have to?
I wonder how much he gets paid for those 4 catchphrases.
Crazy.
That's
My guy had the easiest job.
Get into voice acting, become an iconic character or an iconic something, and you'll have it made. You can retire at the age of 67 and be living it up instead of being 67 and being worn and torn and broken down.
My guy's been living it up since 1984. He hasn't made a new lyric in 50 years. He retired when they made Super Mario 64. That was it.
Yeah.
I think that's where all the – did you guys ever play that game, by the way?
But I'm pretty sure he voiced other things for games other than just Mario 64.
Mario Golf.
I know they didn't just reuse all of that. Oh, you love some Mario Golf.
But is there any lyric? Like, do they say any words in that? I think it's just a lot of noises.
Imagine going in to record noises.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
That's the noise.
That is the noise. That was pretty
Yes.
good.
Hire me, Nintendo.
I know.
I'll be the next Mario.
Yeah, I was gonna say you could be the
Is
next
Nintendo
Mario.
doing good? Like, are they doing well?
I think they're
don't even
doing
know.
just fine. I think they're doing
What do they
great.
make right now? They make the Switch.
They're switchers. They're switching it up. They've been switching it up for like 6 years.
I love that way. The way you just presented that. They
The
just been
switchers.
switching
Well,
it up.
right, because it sounded like I said they were swingers,
Ooh,
but
easy.
they're not.
You know,
way different.
Charleston, big city for swinging. When
Is
there's
it?
whenever you visit there, if there's an upside down pineapple, that's how you know. I learned that first couple weeks, and they are all over the place.
Why is the upside down pineapple? I just learned this recently too. Why is the upside down pineapple the? Yeah, go ahead and laugh, Dustin. It's not because I'm getting into swinging.
Yeah,
what is
I went to this
the
party.
upside down pineapple? Why is that the symbol for it?
I went to this party and this guy took his shirt off. I wasn't sure what was going on. Was wondering, I don't know why it's the upside down pineapple. I have some ideas that I'm not going to say on here, but it's what it is. That's the symbol, and they're all over Charleston, which is shocking.
Well,
That's it.
go.
That's all I have to say about that.
All right. Let's get into one more thing, and it's something that I talked about last week that I was going to mention. The DARPA dogs. Are either of you familiar with the DARPA dogs?
Well, after we saw the video, I became very familiar with them, but I don't know like what they do or how they work or what their purpose is.
So, right, their tame form, they're supposed to be like militarized robots that basically look like dogs. They don't have heads or anything, but they're supposed to be able to bring like care packages and stuff to people out on the battlefield and that kind of thing. I may be butchering some of that, and if so, that's fine. I apologize.
Yeah.
But
It didn't take them long to put bazookas on those
yeah, the
things.
fear is that these things are going to be weaponized and being able to like in a dystopian future charge into people's houses or places where they're at and take people down. Imagine a robotic a mammal of any sort coming at you with any sort of weapon. Like real dogs are scary enough as they come after you. Not that happens very often, but I remember being a kid And anytime seeing a dog through somebody's fence barking at me, I was terrified. I love dogs now. Not that I ever didn't love dogs. I have a dog of my own.
I used to try to beat him up, but
I used to try to fight
now
him,
I love him.
like Michael Vick. Anyway.
Hey, Michael Vick was just capitalizing on an opportunity.
He was.
Oh my God.
I am kidding. That was terrible. I'm totally kidding.
I'm going to go and throw a disclaimer out here. Nothing we say on here should be taken seriously. Nothing. Okay.
If anyone has listened to me talk for like 3 minutes, they should know that. There's always a hint of nonsense in everything that I say.
Nobody really thinks that Michael Vick was in the right for making dogs fight each other. At least no one in their right mind.
No, but there's an interesting story there that we won't get into right now since we're, at 45 minutes.
And yes, go ahead. Well, you can give us the give us the short version. We don't have to
the short version.
Give us the short version.
Well, no, I mean, look, what he did obviously was terrible, but there's also a background of where he grew up, which I think was Newport News.
Yep.
He grew up around a lot of that. I think this was documented well in the ESPN 30 for 30, where a lot of police would come in. They knew what was happening, but there were such bigger crimes happening in that area, murder, serious drugs, that they let the dogfighting go. So to him, having seen that and not knowing it was a crime, it was like, why would you think it was a big deal? Because he had been around it. It had never really been punished. And so maybe he knew it was wrong, but he probably didn't realize it was or I don't know how to phrase that properly, but do you know what I'm saying?
I know what you're getting at, but it's like
I'm not saying
raised by the environment.
Right.
It doesn't make it right.
Right. I'm not saying he's innocent, or I'm not saying it's right. It's just an interesting thing that we all who grew up with a different background were like, why would you do that? Of course, that's a horrendous thing to do to dogs. But to him, again, having been around it never being punished, it's just an interesting aspect that you don't ever think about. Anyway.
Yeah. Now back to DARPA dogs. This is just the first video I clicked on. It is from 2001, so I'm guessing that this has already been accomplished. The Army is testing its new robot dogs with a super gun mounted on top. What does a super gun even entail? I don't know.
Yeah, good question.
But yeah, just a super gun. Have you seen the one this is more like a humanoid looking thing? It like runs through their little obstacle course and jumps 10 feet in the air and does backflips off stuff. Yeah, we're in trouble.
Are you a fan of artificial intelligence? Are either of you a fan of artificial intelligence?
No, dude. No, I'm not even artificially intelligent. I'm just dumb. Some computer coming in here and I have no chance. Computer starts asking me questions. I'm just going to curl up and just give up. Like, take me away.
Mitchell's mom's going to come to help him.
Yeah, please, Mom, come pick me up. Yes. Yeah, no. AI is bad. Do you guys follow – this is a total transition. I'm really interested in like stock market trends and real estate and kind of macro economics a little bit. Do you guys follow that at all?
No. I'm very illiterate.
Okay.
Teach us.
Well, something that I would be curious listeners, if someone's smarter than me and is in the financial sector, because I'm just a guy that reads stuff online and tries my best and reads books, but I'm not in the day-to-day. Do you guys know the movie or ever read the book, The Big Short, Michael Burry?
No, sir.
Okay, so I'm going to give this 2 seconds here, but Michael Burry saw that all the mortgage loans were packaged into these CDOs, subprime mortgages. It was supposed to be all this AAA rated stuff, and you were handing it out to people with good credit scores, and all these big banks were investing in all this, and basically everyone was making a ton of money in the financial world, but they were giving loans, massive loans, to people with no job history, terrible credit scores, and it's basically all trash. And this guy, Michael Burry, the reason it's called The Big Short is he essentially shorted all of those investments by these big banks into the subprime mortgage market. And when 2008 happens, stock market goes to crap. He shorted them to it's like $1.3 billion. And there's a couple other people that got wind of what he was doing, and the movie explains that a lot better. But basically, he made like $2 billion shorting what he saw happening. And I just happened to watch it yesterday and was just looking and kind of seeing what he was up to. Hopefully it doesn't mean anything bad for the U.S. economy, but he did it at the beginning of the year, then kind of retracted it, but went full bore again and shorted the U.S. stock market, basically S&P 500 in the Vanguard. And he did that at the end of July for $1.6 billion. And I think he's only at risk for like $200 million, but something to think about, something you guys should do some research on. It's crazy. I can go. I'll just start talking way too long, but you should do some research. We should have a conversation about that.
Maybe I will.
That's
A lot of that went
stuff.
way over my head. But
Really?
We're going to have to educate ourselves on this, John, because I have no idea. I'm the oldest one here, and I have no idea what you're talking about.
Dustin,
Come on.
there's one more thing that I forgot to mention, and it's a tweet that you sent out today that intrigued me. It said, sometimes I just go through Verbo and admire all these nice houses in the mountains people can afford.
Correct.
Are you looking for a vacation spot, sir?
I'm always looking for a vacation spot.
I know.
So-
Isn't it great?
So here's the thing. I don't usually go on really a vacation. I have days off, quote unquote. And
You're kind of a traveling nomad anyway. You're always going all over the place.
Yeah, I am. I try. And I like to go to Tennessee, Georgia.
I've heard Cashiers, North Carolina, is like one of the coolest places in the Blue Ridge Mountains. I've heard it's one of the coolest places in the mountains.
I'm going to have to check that
I
out.
just heard about that a couple weeks ago. Cashiers.
All right.
They've
check.
got great golf there, but they've also got all this hiking. There's a big lake. Something to look into.
I will look into that. But I just look at like all these houses and I'm just like I just am at peace because I can unplug out there. And so hiking, a lot of those mountain towns have usually like a good brewery or distillery. They've got good restaurants because they're usually tourist towns, but they're not usually big enough to have like those commercial or chain restaurants. So a lot of it's local and it's usually really good. So, but I always go on there and I'm like, man, if I could afford a house in the mountains with like just that view. It's like
how much is something like that?
How
much is something like that in Georgia to buy that's way outside Atlanta, basically on the border of Tennessee? Maybe not at the top of the mountain, but something with a view. 800?
Depending on what you're looking for, I would say probably in the 300 to 800 rate. Now, maybe it's about 400.
Yeah, let's say like 2,500 square feet. Do you know?
Probably 450.
Oh, okay. That's not bad. That's attainable.
At some point.
You start learning about investments and controlling your money and letting your money work.
Mitchell's about to be both of our like financiers.
It's easy, dude. You just gotta. That's literally just reading 2 books: Common Sense Investing and Intelligent Investor. That's it. And basically, you're just following U.S. economy. We're young, dude. We can just throw money at the S&P. It grows, double, whatever. But that's attainable. You just got to start. The hardest part is starting. It's intimidating, but it's really not.
All right. Lastly, before we wrap up, each of us bucket list place in the United States that you want to travel to, since we're on the topic of traveling.
Oh man,
I already got mine
because
I already knew I was going to ask the question. Glacier National Park in Montana.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. I'm gonna go. I want to really go on like an Alaskan cruise.
I had a buddy that just went to Alaska. Said it was the most amazing. He was there for 10 days.
Yeah,
said it's the most amazing 10 days he's ever had. But I would not go to Alaska because all my stuff is around golf. So I want to go play forest golf in the Pacific Northwest, whether that's Oregon, Washington, probably Washington. If I had to pick, I just know that having trees that immense and trying to get your little golf ball to fly through there, I think that would be so cool.
There you have it. That'll do it for another week of Out of Touch. We were really all over the place this week. And maybe I think that's kind of how it's going to be every time. Hopefully you guys are still enjoying it. I know we're enjoying it. Dustin, Mitchell, I pray that you're having a good time as well. I think you are.
I love it.
And
It was good energy today.
Do what?
It was good energy today.
Yes, always good energy. So we appreciate you as always. We'll see you next week. This has been Out of Touch. And be sure to check us out on Hoosier Illustrated.